Let's get ready to rumble!
Hello and welcome to Netflix versus Cinema, and you're joining us in a bit of a somber week, a week that is so somber that we only have two people here. My name is Tosin and I am the host of the show based up in the Midlands. Joining me on the Isle of Wight this week is only Sean Harris.
Oh, hi there.
Yeah, hi. So Sharon is not with us because if you want to figure out when we record this show on the day that we have received the news well, in addition to having a new prime minister in the United Kingdom, we have also heard that the Queen is in bad health, and it is one of those things. Like my wife was talking about it earlier today, saying that she essentially, as long as a lot of us has been alive, the Queen has been there. Whether you like her or loathe her, she has been there. And it's kind of like the fact that it's looking like it might be over, that it's looking like this is the end, is just kind of like, I think it's a bit, it gives you some sort of like existentialist questions, like, hang on a second, but what does that mean? What does that mean if we have a world other? So yeah, I think Sharon has taken a bit of a rest day, and understandably so, which leaves me and Sean to prattle on about films that we have seen. Now, Sean, in the last couple of weeks that we've lamented for months, where are all the films? Where are all the films? Where are all the films? And then last week was the first week in which we thought, okay, the small indie films are kicking. Yeah, so sorry, so I'm just describing that the small indie films are kicking back. The small indie films are like, fighting back, and they're coming in and they're going, oh my god, there's no blockbusters in cinemas, get in there. So now we have an overflow of films to talk to, so much so we've pushed two of them to next week. But today we are going to you have gone into a little bit of a beast mode, and you have gone hunting things down in the cinema, and there's two, so out of your haul, out of the things that you've got, there's two of your films that we're going to be talking about today. And that's going to be, we're going to talk about Orphan First Kill.
Mm-hmm.
And
First Kill. Yep.
And we're going to talk about Fall. Fall, one of those, it seems to be like we used to have this frame, mushroom church, a church that doesn't seem to sort of spring up overnight. You're like, hang on, there wasn't something there yesterday. Why is there all of a sudden a tent with people singing in it? And we used to have that phrase. And this is one of those sort of mushroom films. Heard nothing of this. No pre-thing. No, this film is being shot. No, then all of a sudden this film is here. And it's just there, and they're like, Fall, come watch it. Like, what? Where did this come from? So we're going to find out a little bit about that. And at home, because what we do is we go to cinemas, rate things out of 5 that we've seen, rate things at home that we've seen out of 5, and we see who's won the week. And at home, we have Asterix and the Mansion of the Gods, which I saw on Amazon Prime. You had Samaritan, which you saw on Amazon Prime, which was on my list of things to see on Amazon Prime. I was going to watch this. But, at the moment, it's the US Open is going in tennis, and that has taken up, bearing in mind that last night there was a 5-hour match that ended up at 3 a.m. in the morning in New York. So you can imagine what time it was that went until. Yeah, so I haven't been able to see that much on screen. So I haven't been able to get around to seeing Mr. Samaritan, but I was interested to see that. And another film also on Amazon Prime. We're having a very Amazon Prime heavy week called Queenpins, which I saw a while back but never reviewed. So let's kick off first. And Sean, we're going to let you go with Orphan First Kill, which is a sequel to Orphan. Did you ever see the first one?
Yes, I did see the first one. Yes, and I didn't mind the first one. I think we did a review of that many years ago.
We might have, yeah.
Certainly, we might have done one.
We might have. So if I'm correct, is this the film in which you have somebody who is pretending to be an orphan but is actually a lot older than they seem to be?
Yes.
Okay, so
yes.
I think that film has been out long enough. Everybody knows that was a twist at the end of the film.
Yeah.
I've never seen it, and I know that. So tell us about Orphan First Kill, the sequel. What happens?
Okay, I think it's more of a prequel, really.
Okay.
But, so basically, it starts off in I think it's Lithuania or Latvia. I can't remember. It's one of those Baltic states anyway, and it's really cold, and you see the orphan. I can't even remember her name, but Esther. You see Esther, right? Esther, and she's in this like asylum place, and that's where she is. So she's locked up. She's attempted some things, and but she manages to. She's quite manipulative with some of the other patients, and she's manipulative with like the guards, and she manages. Let's just basically say, without being a spoiler, because you know it's got to happen. She basically escapes,
Yeah.
And then she's sort of found by a security guard type bloke, and it turns out that there's this family in America that lost their daughter. So they decide that this is the lost daughter, and she's quite clever. She sort of works it out. So basically, she ends up going to this family, and there's a normal family. There's a what would be an older sibling, brother, and the mum and dad, and she endears herself to lots of people. And there's a few twists where she goes to a doctor to get checked, but something happens and she doesn't manage to get.
Is this the first or second film?
This is the second film.
So this is the storyline of the second film.
Yeah, this is the film that we saw. The first film. The first film, she's an orphan, isn't she? In this, but this is like, so she's not really an orphan. She becomes an orphan at the end of the film.
All right, cool. Cool. Because everything that you were saying, I was thinking, wouldn't that be the? But never mind. Carry on.
Okay. So,
ignore my confusion.
So that's basically the film. So yeah, it's basically the same. It's the same film, really. So you could say it's the same thing.
That's what I was thinking.
Exactly. So, but in this time, it's rather than an orphan, it's a long lost someone.
Okay, cool. Gotcha.
As you can guess from this film, I was put off fairly quickly. I'm like, oh, come on, because I don't know. I mean, let's be honest. If anyone in their right sense of mind would think, there's no way you are a small child, there's no way in a million years, not even trying to be, with no matter how you cover it up, you are not going to be mistaken for a small child.
Now this is a problem that I wondered how they were going to get around it, because it's the same actor as was in the first film, right?
Yes.
And I'm thinking, okay, so you have an actor who is pretending to be a child in the first film, and this film is made many years after the first film. So this actor is going to look older.
Yeah, definitely.
And then when you said this is a prequel, I'm like, how the heck are you going to take an actor who obviously looks older and make a prequel with? So everything about this sounded ill-conceived from the very beginning.
Yeah, I think it was just like a money-making thing. I mean, it's quite bloody. It's quite bloody. They've gone sort of quite overboard with the red stuff and things. So I think it was more trying to be a shock value. But to me, all the way through, I was thinking, how can people be that idiotic? How can they not see? I mean, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Everybody would go, oh, I think there's one minute it goes, oh, you've got big, but it's just like ridiculous. It's the most craziest. Oh yeah. Anyway, let's not go there.
There's some of these films that I'm not sure whether they're trying to be serious or whether they're actually trying to spoof something.
Well, that's what I was thinking.
This is me talking about and doing my whole usual thing of trying to review something I've never seen. This time a whole franchise I haven't watched a single frame of.
No. and you haven't really missed much. Although the first Orphan I thought was okay, but you've not really missed it. It was just a case of, I thought, well, it's there. The timings were right, because it's a lot to do with timings as well. Like Sharon says, always the timings of the film. Yeah. So I managed to go and watch one film, and then so there's not too long a break. You can go and watch the other one if you see what I mean.
Yeah, I mean timings have become a much bigger determining factor over what I watch in the cinema now. I mean, just with having a child and trying to figure that out, and having limited time when I can actually leave the house to go. And so it's kind of like, it's okay, what's on at that time? All right, cool, I'll go see that then.
Go see that, yeah. That's it, basically. You are quite governed by time.
And it's like, oh, that's something I really, really wanted to see. Oh, the timings don't work. Oh, I guess I'm going to have to wait for that to show up on Disney+.
Yeah.
All right, so how many stars would you give Orphan First Kill?
2 stars.
Oh, wow. We are all off to an absolute cracking start. Up to an absolutely cracking start with 2 stars for Orphan First Kill. But as I said, it is a case of we're having films in the cinema now that are not trying. I don't think are trying to be big money makers. No. These are almost sort of like the jobbing actors. You have the film stars who get like the £20 million paychecks, and they have the jobbing actors who are like, oh, give me $500 million and I'll go on to the next one or something. Yeah. And I feel like these films are now like the jobbing, the ones that just are going to keep cinema taking over. So we have Orphan First Skill to begin with. And now we go over to Amazon Prime for our first Amazon Prime thing of the day. And this is Asterix and the Mansion of the Gods. Now, Sean, you must have read some Asterix comics.
Yes, I know about Asterix and Obelisk, and
Yep.
and I like.
Asterix,
They've got some great names. I think they've
the
got
chief is called Vital Statistics.
And the
Get a
medicine
Fix.
bloke is called Get a Fix. Yeah,
Yeah. The druid is called Get a Fix.
Yeah.
The really, really bad musician is called Cacophonix. Or Cacophonix, depending on how you want to say it. There's the fishmonger is called Unhygienics. The blacksmith is fully automatics, all that kind of stuff. I mean, I love, and so I used to read Asterix comics when I was a kid. I mean, we had these in Nigeria, and we would just sort of like get them and read them, and the whole idea of it being a series and you could collect them, that didn't really come to Nigeria because we got what we could when we could get it, and but we loved the Asterix thing. We loved the whole thing about. For those of you who do not know what Asterix is about, it is a satirical comic that was made by two Belgians, and it was talking about, essentially, it's set during the time of the Roman Empire and how the Roman Empire stretched all across Europe, and the only place that resists them is this small French village of Gaul, and how these guys have a druid who makes a magic potion that makes them all super strong. So no matter what happens, the Roman soldiers cannot take this village, and it's the last bastion of French fighting against it. And there's a whole bunch of satire that was in there that I never noticed as a kid. And I don't know about you, Sean, but if there's something I loved as a kid and somebody makes a modern sort of like film about it or anything like that, I'm always worried. I'm always worried because I'm like, oh, I don't know, are you gonna get this? But Sean, I'm not lying. This Asterix and the Mansion of the Gods on Amazon Prime.
Oh, okay.
It is like the comics come to life.
Oh, wow.
It is, honestly, I was watching it going, whoa, what? This, I'm getting the same feels watching this that I did getting the comics, only that now I'm old enough to realize it's satirical and actually understand the satire.
Is it a Hollywood film or
no, this was a French production.
It's a French production.
It was a French production, but this is dubbed into English. So it's dubbed into English with a whole bunch of English comedians and stuff. For instance, Jack Whitehall voices Asterix, although you wouldn't know it was him, because this is probably the most acting and the best acting I've seen Jack Whitehall do. You wouldn't know it was him. Nick Frost voices Obelix, which works. I mean, you can see that already. It works. But the voice things, Matt Berry does the voice. Does the voice of the chief, Vital Statistics. And if you've read the book Asterix and the Mansion of the Gods, it's all about Caesar thinking, I haven't been able to destroy these Gauls. I know what I'm going to do. And this is me realizing what the satire is. I'm going to gentrify the area. So if we build this Mansion of the Gods beside the village, then all of a sudden all these people are going to come in and they're going to lose their natural. And I was watching going, oh my word, this thing is relevant today. This is what's happening with neighborhoods today. Build something really expensive and price all the poor people out. And I was like, oh, this is but honestly, this was a joy. It was an absolute joy to watch. I couldn't remember. I don't think I've ever read Mansion of the Gods, the comic. I've read a whole bunch of other ones, but I don't think I read Mansion of the Gods, the comic. And I was just cracking up the whole way through. You know how in the Asterix comics, whenever you were first introduced to the village of Gaul, they usually have this dust cloud because they're always having a fight. Everybody in the village is always fighting with everybody else. And they'll have this big sort of dust cloud, and you just see people punching each other, and there'll be a chicken somewhere. And they have an animated version of this dust cloud, and it works. It so works.
Oh, I'm really pleased for you.
No, honestly, man, I had to sort of text all the people who I knew that where we used to watch Asterix as kids, like my brothers, my cousins, my friends. I was like, guys, you need to go watch this. You need to go. It is like the comics come to life. And my brother, my brother and I we are famed for not always agreeing. And my brother had to come in and go, he was like, oh, dude, you're right. This thing is just like the comics. It's like the thing come to life. So I would recommend this. I would heartily recommend this. Even if you know nothing about Asterix, I think it's brilliant. Satirical about the Roman Empire, satirical about gentrification and all that. And it's hilarious. It is great. It is fun. And it is a 4-star for me. It is.
Oh, wow. Brilliant.
It is an absolute 4-star for me. I mean, I just thought that because I just felt like these guys were just nailing it the whole way through.
I think it's great when you see a film like that where it nails it. It's a real pleasure, isn't it? It's a pleasure to watch. It's a pleasure to watch when you get a film like that and you think, yes, this is what I wanted. This is how how it should be, and it's like, yeah, and I've been there, and it's great. It's so nice to see that.
Yeah, and I apparently it was a big hit. It was a big hit in France because obviously originally it was done in French.
Yeah.
But I'd never heard about, and because I know there've been a couple of Asterix things that have been done. There've been some live action ones with Gerard Depardieu playing Obelix and all that, and I didn't know this. I happened across it because with my daughter, sometimes when I'm trying to just sort of like be a bad parent and use the TV I'm looking for animated movies. So I just started searching for animated movies, and this came up, and it was Asterix and the Mansion of the Gods, and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll put that on and my whole idea was I'll put it on, it will distract her. I remember this from my childhood, and then I just ended up sitting there going, oh no, this is good. Oh, this is good.
Oh, wow.
I just watched the whole thing. Ended up watching the whole thing. So yeah, so that's Asterix and the Mansion of the Gods, 4 stars for that. Now, back to cinema. And the one thing that escaped you this week, the one thing that went to escape you this week, which is 3,000 Years of Longing.
Yeah.
3,000 Years of Longing. This is starring Tilda Swinton and Idris Elba and directed by George Miller. Now, George Miller, I think the posters and the trailer are probably going to say things and give you his credentials. George Miller is the Mad Max guy. George Miller, so it'll be like, from the director of Mad Max Fury Road, that kind of stuff. And I'm like, well, that is true. That is a fact. However, if you are lured into watching this film because you're like, oh my God, I love Mad Max Fury Road, you have got another thing coming. Because this couldn't be further from Mad Max Fury Road if it tried. So the whole idea behind this is that you meet Tilda Swinton. She's on a plane going to Istanbul. And there is it starts off saying this whole thing of, like, it's something along the lines of, my story is true, but I know it's outlandish, so I think it would be better if I tell you this story as a fairy tale. So she starts off telling this whole thing as a fairy tale, like referring to the plane as a flightless bird, and referring to phones as glass tablets that can get information from the sky. And so she tells it in a very sort of like story, like she's telling you a story, she's telling you a fairy tale. And her job is, she's a narratologist, so she looks at the different stories around the world and looks for like the way they work together and all that. And so she goes to Istanbul, ends up in a bazaar, but she starts seeing things, and the way she's seeing things, you're not sure. She seems used to the idea that she's seeing things, and she's not, and you're not sure whether it's in her mind or whether these things actually exist. It's one of those sort of things. But she seems to know, yeah, this happens. This is the thing, and she goes to a bazaar. She ends up getting a bottle from a bazaar, cleans the bottle, and then the top comes off and boom, a djinn comes out. A djinn played by Idris Elba. Yeah, a djinn played by Idris Elba. And I think that the way that the djinn first shows up, this film is really, really stylistic, and I like the way they do it. I like the way they do the style. Obviously, there's like special effects and all that, but they use sparingly. And it becomes, and when I was talking about COVID movies and being on the lookout for COVID movies,
yes,
I think I think we found another one. I think because even in this film, when they're on the plane, everybody's wearing masks. She goes to like a conference where she's talking about stories, and everybody in the audience are wearing masks. So they're not trying to hide the fact that COVID was a function. But then a large part of this film ends up being Idris Elba and her in a hotel room, like some sort of sexless version of Good Luck to You, Leo Grand.
Oh, right, okay.
And it's them in a hotel room, and they're even wearing bathing robes or bathrobes. They're wearing bathrobes, like sitting down for the whole thing. And what happens is that he comes out and he goes, "Thank you for freeing me. You now have 3 wishes." And she's like, "Oh no, I'm a narratologist. I know all the stories. I know what happens when people make wishes with jinn. It's like you find a way to twist them." And he's like, "No, I'm not one of those jinn. Trust me, I'm a good one." And then he starts telling his story about how he ended up in a bottle and how his life has come for the last 3,000 years. And it becomes a story. It becomes a film about storytelling. Because it's all about, and then you have this storytelling, you have these flashbacks. You have these flashbacks into the halls of Suleiman the Great, and the flashbacks into like the age of the Ottoman Empire. And the flashbacks is where you can see that they've spent the money. Because these are opulent, these are colorful, these are brilliant. And Sean, you were going to say something.
I was going to say, yeah, well, from the trailer, those were the bits that intrigued me. It wasn't so much the hotel scene, but when you saw the clips of, the big baths and the flatbed from the trailers and all that, and I just thought, whoa, this could be something special.
Yeah, and I think those bits are great because especially because they're going through a section of history that you don't hear about much in Western world. I mean, like the Hall of the Queen of Sheba, and the way it talks about things, it talks about the Queen of Sheba meeting Solomon, which is something that's recounted in the Bible. But the jinn is like, no, I was there. That's not the way it was written. It's like the way it's written is not the way it happened. This is what happened, and I love the fact that they're showing all these different people. They're showing you the Queen of Sheba, and there's a bit where Idris Elba's jinn says, "Oh, she wasn't beautiful; she was beauty herself." And the fact that and this is just a personal thing, and the fact that the Queen of Sheba is the darkest person in the film, and is being held as she's beauty herself. I was like, okay, you're doing something different here, and I need to find out who played the Queen of Sheba because she's a find. Yeah, and it's but. And so the bits where he's telling the story about everything, and you go into the past, and you go into the halls of the Queen of Sheba, and then the Ottoman Empire, and Suleiman the Great, and all this, those bits I think are fascinating. They are brilliant. And although it's the mileage of this film, I think some people will get bored because it's essentially just somebody telling you a story about what happened to him. It's not as if like there's like, oh, we need to go get this thing, or we need to go there, or we need to go blow that thing up. It's just telling stories, and I really, really liked it. If you get into the rhythm of the film, it's really good. And there are some problems. There are some problems in this because you have George Miller, old white, I think he's Australian man, telling stories about the ancient Middle East. So there are some troubles that come with that make you feel like, I'm still learning what this word Orientalism means, whether there's a little bit of that going on, and there's a bit that comes up because this film takes place in Istanbul and in London, and there's something that happens in London that becomes a big plot point later on in the film that you're like, wait, why wouldn't that have happened in Istanbul? And it's almost as if on the surface of it, it seems like lazy writing, but when you dig a little bit deeper, it gets problematic because it's as if they're sort of saying, "Oh yeah, that bit was pure, and that bit was great," but at the same time, it's almost kind of saying they're primitive. And so Sean, if you see it, and
I will. I do want to see it.
If you see it, there is that I wouldn't tell you, but there is something that happens in London, and when you think about it, you're thinking, why didn't that happen in Istanbul? The exact same thing should happen in Istanbul. Right. If it happened in London, the exact same thing should happen in Istanbul. So that for me was a bit of a what? And also there was one other thing I was going to say about it. But anyway, so yeah, you think that the exact same thing should happen in Istanbul, but it doesn't. But in the end, I would give this a 4 out of 5. I think just about 4 out of 5. I think it's good. I think it's different. I think I haven't seen anything like this in cinemas for a long, long time. But the flashback scenes, I think, are brilliantly realized. I think they're brilliantly real. Yeah. And it's. And I'm happy to see that there was at least, and you have this whole thing where the people, it's like the Turkish people. I was looking at the names afterwards, and they all look like Turkish names of people who played them. So for me, that little bit of representation, I'm like, okay, cool. There's been some attempt here to actually make this authentic. But I really, really enjoyed 3,000 Years of Longing. I would recommend it, and I would say, yeah, go check it out. Go check it out.
I hope to do that next week, and I'll give you my feedback.
Okay, good stuff. And now we go over to Prime Video again because it's a Prime Video day. And we're talking Samaritan. Samaritan. This is Sylvester Stallone playing an aged superhero. And with this, okay, I've heard about it. I've seen the trailer. I want to watch this, but the more I hear about it, the more I feel like there's going to be a twist in this film somewhere, and the beginning of the film tells you what the twist is. and so before we go, Sean, tell me, is there a twist in the final act of this film?
Not really, no.
Okay, cool. That actually makes me feel more likely to watch it, because if there's something that they said at the beginning that makes me think, oh my god, I think I know what the twist is here. All right, cool. So Samaritan, tell us about it.
Okay, Samaritan. So basically, it starts off it's told really through the story of this young lad who he gets in a bit of trouble with something, but really brave, but he's like a big fan of this superhero from the past called Samaritan. And there was this big battle between, they were brothers to start with, and then they just became enemies, if you will. And there was this big battle, and then things started to calm down. But he still believes there's this Samaritan. He still believes in Samaritan. And he watches Sylvester Stallone, obviously. He works for the. He's like a bin man, and he goes through dumpsters and things, and he finds stuff and he pawns stuff and that, and he lives alone and all that. But some things happen. This boy gets bullied, and Sylvester goes down and sort of saves him, if you will. So he's like, oh yeah. So he goes, no, I'm not. I'm just something. And then
because the boy is convinced that he's Samaritan.
The young boy is, yeah. And then basically, he obviously through this, the boys that he chased off, they knock him over, and he sort of comes, and it gets a bit, So there is so these lads that sort of bullied him, that beat him up. They're members of this big gang, and who commit a robbery and they're not very good. And they manage to find the mask of the villain. So from like this breaking, he goes, oh, what's this? So he becomes, he's the guy. I don't know. Have you seen? You don't watch Game of Thrones, do you?
Oh, I have watched Game of Thrones. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the guy who plays. I can't even remember his name now.
Pili Asbeck. He plays.
Yeah, that's it.
He plays one of the what is undead may never.
I had it in my head. Yeah, one of the
what is dead people. Yeah. What is dead may never die kind of guys. The Ironborn, the Ironborn.
Yeah, the Ironborn. Yeah.
Lovejoy.
Greyjoy. Someone Greyjoy.
Yeah, he's
on another Greyjoy. Yeah.
He's the crazy Greyjoy.
Yeah, he's a crazy. Well, in this, he's crazy as well. But I still keep thinking of him as that dude. I don't know why, because he plays him like the same. Theon, Theon.
I think it's Ewan Greyjoy or something. Yeah.
Euron Greyjoy. Euron.
Yeah.
Well done, Euron Greyjoy. So he plays him like Euron Greyjoy, basically, real flash. So he's the villain. He gets the mask, and it just goes into standard cliched. We know where this is going. Sylvester Stallone looks so old. You know what I mean? He looks like he really looks older in this toast. And
I'm gonna say that was the makeup, because that he's supposed to be old.
Yeah. So. And it ends up, there's not really a twist at all. It ends up there's fight scenes, and there's superhero bits, and it's just totally cliched, and there's nothing new in it. It's not really exciting. It's pretty poor, really, I think, on the whole. And I was expecting it to be quite good, because I quite like Stallone. I think's underrated with some of his movies.
Oh yeah, he is.
Good movies.
So Stallone is actually he's a good actor. He's a good actor. People need to respect that the dude is a good actor.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, no, he was a decent actor in this, but to me, this film felt like he was there for the money. It wasn't convincing. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't convincing.
You see now that is a pity, because I was thinking with the sort of superhero boom that we've had recently, having somebody doing something where you have this hero is old. It's almost kind of like, so what happens when Ant-Man gets old, or what happens when Captain America gets older? And I thought that there is something to be mined there, and it seems like everything I've heard about this is like they've made an old school superhero movie, like like a substandard Blade or something like that.
Yeah, I think so. There was what was that film? Was it called Hancock with Will Smith?
With Will Smith, yeah. Hancock, yeah.
So I suppose you could probably. No, could you put it in that vein?
Because the thing is, Hancock was a film that had a very good premise. It had a very good premise that it didn't do much with, because I think Hancock is about 3 different films fighting for place in there, and each one of them is interesting, but none of them have enough time to actually become a really good film. And
that's it.
Yeah,
and I think this is very similar. There's nothing really new. You basically know what's going to happen. And it wasn't. It wasn't. For me, it wasn't exciting. It wasn't convincing.
Yeah.
I mean, it was okay. It was an okay watch, but for me, it was a little bit substandard. Maybe my expectations were higher, and it would be interesting if you do get to see it. If you do get to see it, because you might think it's better with me. It'd be interesting to get another take.
Well, everything I've heard about this film backs up what you've said, and so maybe the expectations are so in the toilet now that I'll come up going, I actually had quite a good time watching that. Maybe.
Okay. Well,
maybe.
I'll be generous because I like Sly and I think he's underrated, so I'll give this a 3. Yeah, it'll be a 3-star.
Let's give it a 3. But we'll be
just
a 3, but we're being generous.
Yes.
All right, and now we go into the Mushroom film, the film that has just shown up out of nowhere back in cinemas, and we're like, wait, where did this come from? And this is a film called Fall. Now, Fall we're talking earlier on about how with 3,000 Years of Longing, they sort of like proclaim on the poster, from the maker of Mad Max Fury Road, and this one, what they said is from the makers of the film 47 Meters Down, which was a film about 2 women who end up stuck at the bottom of the ocean, terrorized by sharks. And it seems like the makers of this film have decided, we figured out what we want to do. We're going to take 2 women. We're going to take 2 women. We're going to take 2 women who have some sort of extreme sports type interest. And due to the extreme sports type interest, they're going to end up in peril. And we're going to see how they're going to survive, or if they're going to survive. And I think this is not the review. This is just me telling you what I thought before you review it. And I think the genius of what they've done with this is, well, it's simple. I imagine it's supposed to be like a white knuckle ride, and because these films I imagine are made quite cheap, they don't cast any well-known person in them. So one of the reasons I haven't watched 47 Meters Down is because I really have a real feeling that this could end with both those women dying and being eaten by sharks. Because I don't feel anybody is safe. And even watching the trailer for Fall, it's a similar thing where I'm like, I don't recognize any of these people. Oh my God, they could both die. And for all I know, the people who make this film, that is their thing. Everybody dies in the end. So I don't know. But Sean, you're the one who actually sort of like didn't chicken out and went to actually watch the film. So tell us about Fall and tell us what you think.
Okay. So Fall, starts off with these rock climbers. There's 3 rock climbers, two girls, 1 dude, and he's married to one of the girls. And basically something happens and he dies. Yeah. And she becomes depressed for along, and then all of a sudden the other girl comes and says, "Come on, we've got to do something. We're going to. There's this radio tower that we've got to climb. You've got to get back up. It's like falling off a horse. You need to get back on and all that.
Yeah.
And you got to live, and your husband would have wanted you to live, and all this sort of stuff. Yeah. So anyway, in the end she decides they're going to do it. So they go to this place where it's got a big warning, danger of death. Big on the gate, big danger of death. Yeah. So danger of death.
Danger of death. I know what we'll do.
And so that's it. So the ascent. They climb this ladder, and it's like rickety. You know what's going to happen. You can see what's going to happen.
You can see what's going to happen.
Yeah. You know exactly what. Well, I mean, it says it on. Anyway. So they get up the top. The things happen, and they're stuck. And they find a flat. And there's a little bit earlier on in the film where to recharge. Oh, we can recharge the drone because they got a drone. Which comes into play a bit later. And it's like, I won't tell you what happens to it, but it's just like, wow, that was there you go. And while they're up there, obviously they're looking together, and she just happened to look through her phone at her husband, and she sees a couple of pictures where it could be, say, the other girl would, sort of.
Okay, cool. Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah. So you got you.
We're not only going to put them. We're not only going to put these characters in physical peril. We're going to put them in emotional peril as well.
In emotional peril, so they can chat and discuss and have these discussions for like 20 minutes or whatever. Maybe that's an exaggeration, but it felt like 20 minutes. It was like, come on, get on with something. I don't want to know this. I want to see the peril,
Yes.
And they try different things, and they manage to find like a flare gun. There's this emergency thing up there with binoculars, and so anyway, I won't go there. You'll have to see that, some people. But it's just like, come on, what will happen? And this film, I started off with, I thought, okay, we're good. It's just so cliched. It's just so Oh my God, Thomas. Oh my God, mate. I was talking about this. I went to see it with John. I was talking about this, and it was just like, right, okay, we know that's going to happen. We know this is going to happen. And then the last 25 minutes is a total cop out. A total cop out. A real, I swear to you, right? It's like, you come up with that? That's the original? That's it's like, come on. No, I can't tell you what it is, but it's just like a major cop out, which I've seen in a couple of movies, and I just think that is really, really lazy script writing, that you can do that to make it. I don't know. I can't really give a spoiler, but I might tell you later off air. But it's just like, oh, come on. And at the end, and it's like super smolchy, and it's like, no way. In 1,000 billion million years with that. Oh dear. I was like, I went to see it with Happy John, with John, our mate John. You know John?
Yeah,
you know
I know John. I know
right?
Happy John, yeah.
Yeah. So he said to me, oh yeah, well, I've been scared of heights, and the scenery was brilliant and all that, and majestic and all that. And I'm like, oh my God. I said, yeah. He goes, but I know I can. He even said, and he said, well, I can see why you rolled your eyes. So,
because I have to admit, this is it's getting more because you know that there's some films that people are like, oh my God, but this, oh my God, but the scenery, oh my God, but the effects. Yeah. And as I go older, I'm like, I don't care about if you don't have a story, I don't care.
No, that's it. So this film really could have been half an hour shorter. Could have been made into a real short, and perhaps, not do that silly cop out business at the end.
Okay.
So it was a cop out. It was really awful ending. You knew what was going to happen. It was pretty predictable after 5 minutes. The philosophical discussions about relationships and stuff was like, oh, come on, go on.
It's like, you're not French. You can't get away with it.
That's it. So this was not a good film. I mean,
how many stars?
It was two stars.
Okay.
So it's a sad day for the cinema. After my couple of weeks of niceties, it's so I don't know. We'll have to see what happens. I wish I'd have gone and seen something different now.
Okay. So 2 stars for Fall. But the idea of Fall, it sounds to me like a 70s disasters flick. That's the thing that came across to me, like 70s, like the Tower Inferno or Earthquake or something like that. Like really simple concept. Oh, we've climbed this thing. Oh, it's on fire. Oh, it's falling apart. We need to get down without dying. Or we've gone below the ground. Oh my God, it's flooding. We need to get up before we die.
That's it.
And it seems like that. And those can be, sometimes they do feel a bit contrived because they keep trying to find out of different ways of putting things in there. But yeah, so 2 stars with that. Oh, and Sean.
2 stars, yeah. Not good.
So, not sure if you've seen any of the alerts, but the Queen has died.
Oh right, okay. I've been hearing stuff. Oh, she's died, is she?
Yeah.
Oh,
They've just confirmed that the Queen is dead. The Queen, it's going to be an interesting couple of weeks.
Yes, it certainly is.
And not that we planned this or anything, because there's no way we could. But the next film that we're going to talk about, this is back on Amazon Prime again. It's called Queenpins, and and this is it's a film. This is a film based on a true story, but it's one of those films that after I watched it, I was kind of like, really? And I was like, oh no, I'm gonna check this out. And you actually go and you research the true story it was based on, and you find that it's only very loosely based on the true story. But it's only very loosely based on the true story, and this is about a couponing. It was about a couponing scandal that happened in the States, which is because apparently in the States they have this sort of couponing thing, and it's quite a big thing. You have people, I think it was even a TV show about it, like Extreme Couponers or something like that, and it's a thing. And so you have Kristen Bell, and you kick off by meeting Kristen Bell, and she is a retired Olympic athlete. She was, the speed walkers. She was one of the speed walkers. Yes. And she has this whole like voiceover where she says, yeah, I was a speed walker in the Olympics. And if you're thinking I was a speed walker in the Olympics, oh, shouldn't you be loaded? Look up how much a speed walker makes. Really, actually, it's disgraceful. So she has her best friend and her neighbor, who is played by Kirby Howell Baptiste. And they're both into couponing. I mean, she had her identity stolen, so she has like bad credit, and she's trying to get up a business off the ground where she goes house to house doing cosmetics for black people, and she's trying to get that thing up and running. But they're both hit up. Like Kristen Bell has this stereotypical horrible husband who doesn't pay any attention to her. She wants to have a child, and she's trying to spend money on IVF, and he can't be bothered. Played by Joel McHale, and so he's just in bastard mode, and so you have all that. But then they start realizing that if you complain about stuff in a store, they'll send you a coupon. In America, they'll just send you a coupon so you can go and buy new things. And then they go, where did you get all these free coupons from? And they come up with this scheme where they get a whole bunch of coupons for free, but then they sell them on. And this is technically fraud. And it becomes this big, massive company. And it's based, and so far so true, there was a couponing scandal where some people actually did get a whole bunch of money from getting coupons and selling them on. And but what happens is that you have this guy, and he's played by Paul Walter Hauser, who you might remember, Sean, from that film from the film Richard Jewell, that Clint Eastwood directed about.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, the guy who played the main character. And this is kind of him playing that character again. Is this guy who he's in charge of security for like a supermarket chain like a Tesco or something, and his thing is just to catch fraud on coupons. And when he finds out that someone's frauding coupons, quick, call the FBI, and he tries to get the FBI involved to come and catch this couponing thieves. And at the end, through the whole thing, the FBI are like, we can't be bothered. But hang on a second, you said this was done during the posts. And then they go, and because it was done, because they send the coupons out in the post, they send the postal service, the U.S. Postal Service, and Vince Vaughn shows up, and Vince Vaughn is playing like this guy. So it becomes, so it has some big names in it, it has some funny things in it, and it tells like, a comedic take on a true life story. And you have this whole thing about how they actually ended up tracking down the people the women who were running this scheme, and a lot of the humor comes from how incompetent the women are at doing anything doing anything crime wise, and the fact that, and also hang on, we have someone coming to say hello to Uncle Sean.
Hello.
Say hello to Uncle Sean.
Hello.
Yeah, and it comes from how incompetent the women are, but also how incompetent this guy is trying to find them, and how he really, really wants to be a policeman, and he wants to have a gun, and he keeps asking Vince Vaughn, "Oh, can I have a gun? Can I do this? Can you deputize me?" and all that. And so
is it a comedy? Is it a comedy?
It's a comedy. It's a comedy. So Vince Vaughn and Paul Walter Hauser become this sort of double act, where they're trying to figure out who these people are, and they're trying to solve this whole case. And I think so. You essentially have two double acts that fire this film. You have Kristen Bell and Kirby Howell-Baptiste as the women who are doing this coupon fraud, and you have Vince Vaughn and Paul Walter Hauser as the people who are investigating it, trying to catch them. And I think it's very good natured. It's quite it's funny, but it. Oh, look at you playing with the camera. Sorry, for those who just listening, my daughter's just sort of picked up a camera and held it correctly, held it to her eye. As someone who makes video for a living, I'm really proud right now. So yeah, it's a comedy. I think it's funny. It's not like the funniest thing you'll ever see. It's a good watch. It's the kind of thing that you can put on in the background and you can just but it won't be a waste of your time. And it's not too long. I think it's around about 90 minutes. It's around about 90-minute film. So I quite like Queenpins, and I'll give it a 3 out of 5. I'll give it 3 out of 5. Enough. Essentially, let me put it this way. I watched it, and then I told my wife, "Oh, you need to chill. You need to relax from working in a hospital. Go watch this film. It'll be a nice, distracting 90 minutes." And I think that's what it is. It's a nice, distracting 90 minutes. Oh, 3 stars out of 5. So all that's left to ask is, who do you think has won this week? Sean.
I think the streaming platforms have probably won this week. With the cinema outings haven't been particularly productive, except for, I don't know actually, because you give 3,000 years. 3,000 years got a 4 star, so I don't know. 4 stars, yes. So that might 2, 4, 5. I think streaming just by maybe 1.
You're right. 3 streaming has won by 1. Well, cinema has an average of 2.66. And streaming has an average of 3.33. So yeah, so that's average is less than 1 star, but yeah, but streaming took it. Well, I'll tell you, the real winner this week is apparently me, because I saw 2 things that I rated 4 stars. I saw 2 things that I rated 4 stars.
I'm pleased as well. Yeah.
Yes,
I'm pleased.
especially with the timing and everything. Because there was National Cinema Day on last Saturday, where all films in cinemas were £3, which wouldn't have bothered you any because you've got a Cineworld pass. But seeing as I no longer have a pass and I have to actually pay for every film I watch like a pleb, that was a pretty good thing. But anyway, but that is it. That is it for us this week, and I believe we will see you next week when we will see.
Yes.
Well, we will be a country in mourning because the Queen is dead. I guess it's going to be the Queen is dead. I wonder if we're going to actually hear somebody say the Queen is dead, long live the King.
Possibly.
I wonder. We'll come back next week and I'll let you know if that does happen. But until that time, it's
should be good next week.
Yeah,
I'm going to try and see. I'm trying to see 3,000 years of longing. I make a point of that, so I give you my feedback. And maybe see Samaritan and.
Okay. Somebody just shot her fingers in something.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah,
all right, Toes, I'll let you go, mate.
I'll try to see Samaritan, and I'll try to see that. All right, cool. See you guys. Next week. Bye. Kevin, you made that slightly chaotic.